What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Trust Your Board Podcast. My name's Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. Hey, Will, how you doing?
Doing well, Steve. It's a busy weekend unpacking here in the new place. May sound a little different as I'm recording in a new area here. But yeah, just a very busy weekend here.
Yeah, I guess I should be saying welcome back, huh? Did you,
Yeah.
It's soloed an episode. That was actually kind of difficult, believe it or not.
That was the start-sit episode, right?
Yeah. And instead of me just like taking breaks here and there and figuring I can edit it all together and make it sound fine later, I just talked for 15 minutes straight, and my voice was quite tired by the end of it.
Did not think that one through, huh?
No, I really didn't. Yeah, what can you do? You were off giving the Phillies your good luck, right?
Yes, yeah, I was down there at the game. Luckily, the one game they won here at home. But unfortunately, they weren't not able to pull it off there against the powerhouse Astros.
Yeah, shame. It is a shame.
Yeah, I actually did just hear that they had their parade today. I thought that was a pretty quick turnaround. Usually it's a few days, but I mean, they clinched Saturday night and they had their day here parade already on Monday.
Yeah, that is quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's like, I don't even think it's a few days. I feel like it's like, I don't know, closer to a week. Isn't it like 5 days, 6?
Yeah, it's usually like, I mean, I was talking to some people about it. If the Phillies did win, and we were expecting, probably like Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. But
yeah,
the Astros were able to put it all together.
I mean, I guess they've won one somewhat recently, so they probably have the path already lined up. And
yeah, it's 2017, but I guess it depends on the day of the week because it's usually a weekday that you do the parade itself. So winning on the weekend made it a little easier.
Yeah, very true. Well, baseball side, we got waivers here. You ready to jump on into them?
Yeah, absolutely. And baseball side, baseball is over. So football come more to the forefront for everyone, I think, now. We have college basketball starting this week. The NBA and the NHL have already been going, but football is the furthest along amongst all the sports here, and it's going to be the big one if it already wasn't for most people.
Yeah, very, very true. So yeah, let's turn our attention to the running backs here, Will. Tyler Algier, I guess we can start with. Him and Patterson, I think Patterson had a few more carries than he did, but it was pretty close to an even split. Algier did more on the ground from a yardage standpoint, where Patterson got the touchdowns there. So both ended up being pretty good for fantasy. Decently owned, 61%, so kind of like right on that line. But are you interested in him, or you think maybe they're just easing Patterson back in? What do you think about Algier?
I think Huntley definitely got the short end of the stick here, and I think you're going to see him be phased out more. There could be times when they use all three, but I think it's mostly going to be a Patterson and Algier game, and we saw that he produced here early on in his rookie year and was able to take that role as kind of the 1A for the last few weeks while Patterson was out. And he did it again here with Patterson back. So I think, more the efficiency, 10 carries for 99 yards. Had a big carry as well, but still, averaged over 5 minutes carry even without the big 44-yard run. So, probably more of a depth piece. I mean, he was kind of flex consideration for a while. So now he's probably more of a bench guy that great right matchup comes in or an injury ahead comes in. But I've had him mostly in here for if he was dropped because people were scared about Patterson coming back. 61% owned is a little over what we usually look for, but I think that probably came down. He was a guy I think that was, I'd guess, in like 75-80% of leagues, whereas it's now down to 61%. And if he's on your waivers, I would definitely look to add him as a nice bench running back there. Give yourself some depth.
Yeah, very fair, very fair. I agree. I tend to agree. He's a good depth play that, maybe you can end up trusting week in, week out. We'll see. Jaylen Warren, only 1% rostered. He is the backup running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you don't know who he is. The week before the bye, he had an okay fantasy week, but I think he's popped up because over the weekend, some writers were saying that he could get some more usage after the bye week. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the expectation is don't be surprised here if you see him featured more. Now she's been pretty inefficient so far this year, and I mean this season looks to be somewhat lost. With 7 playoff teams, a conference, you can still get in, close to 500, but I think there's just a lot of competition there in the division. Cleveland will be getting Deshaun Watson back in a few weeks, and they've been pretty relevant. And we see the Bengals and the Ravens as legit contenders here. So I think maybe they want to see what they have in him as well. Could be that when they can rework the team, they have a good two-headed monster with him and Harris if he continues to play well. But another, kind of add for a depth piece. I don't know that you're going to be thrilled to play him. Maybe if Najee, does go down at any point, he would be bell cow on not the best, not a great offense, but getting the carries. So more of a speculative add here as well.
Yeah, agreed. Speculation. If you got a roster spot, that's fine. If you have Najee, I was going to say a good ad, but I don't know if it actually is.
Is that really a handcuff?
Yeah, is that really what you want? So maybe not. But speculation if you need some running back depth, as we march towards the playoffs here. Another one I think was quite surprising here, Jeff Wilson. Not surprising in that, he's worked with Mike McDaniels, obviously in San Francisco, so I'm sure he knew most of the system in Miami, but led the backfield in carries.
9 carries.
Yeah, which was quite surprising because Mostert hasn't been bad. Rostered in 52% of leagues, so he's out there. I'm assuming you're interested in him, right?
Yeah, I think they are obviously they traded Chase Edmonds. There's not too much else behind Mostert, so I think they've got the 1-2 punch that they wanted there with Wilson and Mostert. And Mostert hasn't been the model of health, so we could see a guy who just came in Wilson, be maybe the lead back if there's something that happens with Mostert. So I think he's definitely worth rostering and probably one of those guys that is in flex consideration, given that the offense is pretty high-powered and that he is really one of 2 guys that are going to get carries there.
Yeah, agreed. He's a good flex guy, a good, RB2 if you're running like 0 RB or something like that. Yeah, like you said, good offense. So I can't see that being an outlier. Like you wouldn't give him more carries on his first week with the team and then less after that, unless Mostert was hurt. So yeah, definitely a good ad there. On the flip side, starting a downtrend here, Elijah Mitchell, 58% rostered. Obviously, you got CMC there now. He should be coming back here soon. Do you have interest? Can you trust him?
I think he definitely needs to be rostered. He's probably one of the most important handcuffs that you'll see. One of the guys that I think is clearly going to be the guy if the player ahead of him goes down. Obviously, McCaffrey's going to be the feature back. But if you look across the league, there's probably not too many guys that you trust more than Elijah Mitchell as a lead back if the guy ahead of them goes down. So I think 58% rostered, not going to be out there for many people, but, there's still, just under half of leagues have him available. And I think he is definitely one of those RB2s on an NFL team that you want to have on your bench for the potential that he offers if the guy ahead of him goes down. We don't see this week really any big guys that you're going to add and start right away here at the running back position, but there's a lot of good, just kind of RB2s that you can have that could pop off if the guy ahead of him gets injured.
Yeah, and the 49ers have supported 2 running backs in the past. Now, there's a difference between having a bunch of average running backs and, 2 of them just are good because you're rotating because they're all average, and having, CMC who's elite and you shouldn't be taking off the field. So I don't know if that's going to work out. But yeah, it should probably be rostered, especially if you're a CMC owner. That's your handcuff, and a good handcuff at that. So agreed there. Chuba Hubbard, been injured, was the starter, when CMC was traded. Foreman had the big week, didn't have much of a week this week. So I think the door is open for Chuba if he can manage to get himself back this week versus Atlanta, which I believe would be a good matchup. Definitely like a stash, but can't play, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the clear passing down back as well on the team, and I think that's the big allure to him when he comes back. It's probably still would be a two-back system. They're also using Blackshear, so we'll see if they would use him when they already have a Hubbard and a Foreman. I think it would probably go back to just Hubbard and Foreman. And Foreman's going to get his carries as well, but I think Chuba, can be pretty close to being a good split there on carries, but also be the guy that gets that passing down work, which is just so important in the modern fantasy football.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And then finally here, the Denver situation, which personally I'd rather just not touch. But you have Latavius Murray out there. You got the newly acquired Chase Edmonds, both below 50% rostered. Any interest? Are you picking one or the other? Are you staying away from both? Are you cool adding either? Both of them. What do you think? Because I'm probably not interested in either at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably take most of these guys we talked about here over them. Maybe not Warren, but maybe Warren. But I think if anything, I would take a speculative add on Edmonds just because we haven't seen it yet. The team hasn't been great. Obviously, Javonte Williams was awesome before he went down, but we haven't really seen a ton out of the. Murray's looked okay, Melvin's looked okay, but I think they clearly wanted to get something back, and you don't ask for a running back in a trade like this that they got back part of the Bradley Chubb trade without wanting to use him and being concerned about the guys you have. So I would just kind of add Edmonds, roster him for a week or two just to see if maybe he gets worked in and used a lot. And then he's someone that you can easily cut and use as another waiver claim down the road.
Yeah, that is very fair. Turning to the wide receivers here, well, once again, we got Odell Beckham. His rostership has climbed to 24%. More rumors out there. Heard some Baltimore talk today. I think I heard some Dallas talk over the weekend. But again, not looking to have him ready until mid-December. So this is a stash and wait kind of situation. Do you have anything to add to Beckham other than that?
No, I think it's once again, you're going to wait a couple more weeks. But it does look like he is expected to be cleared by the end of the week for like football activity for playing. So he then just needs to get up to speed with the team. Could be quicker if it ends up being a team like the Rams that he's already familiar with. But if it's just, a different team that he goes to, probably needs a week or two to get up to speed. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see him, in the next, maybe at December or that last week of November. So a decent guy that you can stash depending where he goes. And if you need a roster spot, you can always move on. But if he gets to a good spot where it looks like there's a lot of opportunity, could help you for the stretch run.
Yeah. Speaking of opportunity, Wan'Dale Robinson, coming off the bye. Prior to that, 2 or 3 weeks, he was pretty good. Nothing amazing, but you got a rookie. He's having a bye week. Tons of opportunity. So, maybe the rest of the season he steps up. Only rostered in 26% of leagues. I'm assuming you are interested in that, right?
Yeah, and the schedule's pretty favorable too. He's got Houston, who has been, I think statistically pretty good against the receiver, but we've seen them get beaten at times. We saw AJ Brown have a big week last week. They got Detroit, Dallas, Washington, Philly, Washington, Minnesota, and then Indy. So it definitely has some pretty good opportunities there, and he looks like he is going to be the guy for this team. So he's definitely one of the guys here I think I would look to pick up more than the rest. That is pretty low rostership, that is. So yeah, I think he's one guy that I would target and want to see what they have there. But put him on the bench. Not too many guys here we're going to want to play right away, but he's someone I think that's definitely worth being on a team.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of the other options here tend to be boom bust kind of guys. And he could be a consistent, high performer, second half of the year rookie kind of situation that we see. But speaking of that, 2 players, I'll go over them back to back here. We'll see which one you're most interested in. That historically are kind of boom bust, but have been decently consistent the past 2 or 3 weeks. Donovan Peoples-Jones rostered in 21%, and Mecole Hardman rostered in 48%. Do you think the consistency for both of them continues? Is it going to drop off? Are you interested in one more than the other? What do you think?
I think probably Peoples-Jones more than Hardman. There's so many weapons there in Kansas City, and he's one that I think you'd probably have the most confidence in becoming consistent. But I don't have confidence really in any of those receivers there. Whereas Peoples-Jones has been pretty consistent the last few weeks. He's really the only other show in town after Mark Cooper. And he's going to be getting what we think is going to be a QB upgrade in a few weeks. So if he can continue playing at this rate the next couple of weeks, it could get even better. The offense could become more high-powered. So I think he's the guy I would go with over the two of them. What about you?
I am very torn. I do agree with you. You think Hardman, so many options there. He's just going to have just terrible weeks because it's Juju and Kelsey, or it's MVS and Kelsey, or maybe Tony does, like, who knows? There's so many options, where in Cleveland there's fewer options. The quarterback situation could be a good thing, but it could be a bad, because he has no rapport with Watson. And Watson hasn't played in a year and a half. Like, it could just be real bad. But I think I would take my shot there just for the opportunity. I think talent-wise is probably pretty equal. So I'll take the tiebreaker will be the situation. I'll give that to Peoples-Jones.
Agreed here. And we've got a couple of other options. George Pickens is someone I think just call out. I think he's 56% rostered here. Most people I think would be pretty happy to add him, especially with trading away of Chase Claypool. So if he's out there, I think he's like a priority ad, but definitely not out there in many leagues, and probably will be way over rostered here after this week. I would imagine no longer be on this segment. But next to here, we have Michael Gallup, 39% rostered, and Terrace Marshall, 6% rostered. Any interest in either of them?
This is difficult. I'm not that interested in Gallup. It just hasn't been happening. You got the Beckham rumors again. That's gonna be like a month away, but I don't know. He hasn't come in and did what I wanted yet. Marshall, young player who's heating up a little bit, right? So that's a good story. But I also don't want to add him because I don't know what's happening. Me and you right before the show. Who's the quarterback?
Yeah.
What's going on? It's PJ Walker this week. It'll be Darnold next week. Maybe they'll be back to Baker. And I don't know if Marshall's ascension is because he's built a rapport and practice with PJ Walker, and PJ Walker is starting now, or if he's ascending because he's figuring it out. And if you plug Baker or Darnold in there, it'll continue. I kind of leaned on the Walker connection side. But you got to remember, Robbie Anderson was moved, at kind of the same time, I think. So it really just depends on what story you want to believe. I would take the shot on Marshall, I think, but I'm not like married to that. If you hate that and want to go Gallup, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gallup maybe a little safer. You're probably going to have a little bit more consistency there, and maybe the offense picks back up a little more. But I think they want to be more run heavy. Whereas, Marshall I think is more of the unknown, and that's one of those players that you add, and that's he goes off, and that's one of the reasons you make a run at a championship. You always see those teams have a couple of those unknown young guys, rookies, or guys that are stepping in for the first time here, year 2, year 3. So that's why he's the guy I think of the two I would go with. Just see what you have. I mean, you don't necessarily have to start him right away, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Okay, we'll take a look at our tight ends here. We'll name off 4. Speak to a couple of them if you really love someone, hate someone, whatever you think here. We got Dulcich rostered in 35% of leagues, Komet 23, Fant 10, and Otten 11. Who are you liking out of this group?
Yeah, crazy to see a couple of rookies here, but they're producing. Dulcich and Otten. I think Dulcich probably the primary guy because he looks like he's the second favorite target there behind Sutton, and even Sutton has had some inconsistent games. Cole Kmet's interesting. I think people are still worried of that could be an aberration, but Justin Fields looked great, and Cole Kmet had a good game. There's too many tight ends in Seattle for me. Fant played well, but there's just too many guys that get the ball. And Cade Otton, I think, is a good safe option that is going to get some targets, but probably blow up. I believe he caught did he catch the game-winning touchdown? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah,
that's really what put him over the top.
Yeah.
So Dulcich, I think, is the one I'd be most confident in. If you really are not doing great at tight end, I wouldn't mind taking the shot on Cole Kmet because the pedigree's there, and we saw it last year. But Yeah, tough to trust that that's going to continue based on what we've seen throughout the season. You any thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Dolchich had 3 good weeks in a row. Bye week, Russ gets a little bit healthier. Dolchich cements himself a little bit more. I'm with him. I'm with you. Like I'm not interested in Fant. On is also a little too inconsistent. So Dolchich is the clear, easy one. Komet, I want to. The offseason hype, the Bears getting better, Fields getting better. Like it's all there. The problem is we'd be saying he is inconsistent if he didn't get a touchdown. Not this past week, but the week before against Dallas, because he was 2 for 2 for 11 yards, which is terrible. You're getting 2 points out of your tight end. You'd be looking at last week as an outlier, but he had a touchdown, which brought his total up to 8 to 10 points, depending on your format, and it looks good. So I would need to see it more. I mean, I say that, and he has Detroit this week and Atlanta the week after that. Jets, Green Bay bye, and then Philly, Buffalo, and then Detroit for the championship week, which would be nice. So he's got a couple weeks here that are nice. So that's kind of enticing, but I guess I'd rather see it. And that's coming from a Pitts guy who's getting 2 points out of his tight end weekly. So I'm with you. It's Dolchich here for me. We'll go to the streaming portion of the show here. Well, quarterbacks. We have 4 of them for you. We have good old Russ, rostered in 54% at Tennessee. Mariota, 33% at Carolina. Dalton, 15% at Pittsburgh. And Daniel Jones, 40% versus Houston. Who you want?
So Mariota and Jones are interesting because of the rushing baseline that they're both getting. They're both running the ball a lot. So I think they're decent streaming options. I feel like I would probably take the gamble on Russ there against Tennessee. They've been better recently, but I think Russ coming off the bye, see what you got there. It's definitely a gamble, and I don't think we're thrilled to play most of these guys here. It's not a great streaming week. So I think Russ for like upside. I feel like Mariota's maybe got a pretty solid floor there against Carolina, but those Thursday night games are a little worrisome. What about you? And any thoughts on these guys?
Nah, I'm with you. I'll take Russ. A better upside and probably a similar floor. Mariota and Jones, despite the rushing, their floors haven't been great. Dalton's actually had a better floor than either of them, which is surprising, but it's not that much better of a floor, to be honest with you, but a few points better. But yeah, I'll stick with Russ there. He's got the better upside. It's still a nice, easy matchup coming off the bye, which is always nice. So, I'll stick with Russ hesitantly.
All right.
Defenses.
Yeah. We've got some interesting ones here.
Yeah, we do. So we have the Saints, 34 or 37% rostered at Pittsburgh. The Rams, 56 versus Arizona. The Giants, 7 versus Houston. And the Titans, 21 versus Denver. Who do you want?
Yeah, I think the Rams' best defense that we have here, and they definitely dipped a bit with some of the matchups they had and then a bye week there. So I think that's a team that I would want to add. I like the matchup against Arizona, but I also think they make sense to add long-term as well. New Orleans, Green Bay, Denver, they have some pretty decent matchups. Kansas City mixed in there, but a team that I think you could use for a stretch run here. If you're looking for just this week, let's say, kind of like that Giants matchup. They've been playing well. They're going to be at home against Houston. I think that's kind of the one that I'd be looking at for like a 1 week. What do you think here? Any differences there? Any preferences?
Yeah, I'd probably rather have the Rams this week and long term, but at 56% roster, that's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So of the remaining options, I'm with you. I'd go with the Giants. They've been playing well, coming off the bye, I believe. They had a bye, right? Yeah, they had a bye. Get Houston. So yeah, I think that's a good week 10 streamer there.
All right. That wraps us up here for waiver show here for going into week 10. Double digits, Steve.
Yeah, we are double digits. Crazy. But yeah, that wraps up the show. Tune in on Thursday for the start sit episode. And until then, folks, trust your board.